Alright guys, yesterday you learned what an inequality was. Today you are going to learn how to write an inequality and how to graph an inequality on a number line. So this is lesson 8.6, chapter 8, lesson 6. So we're going to do a couple real-world link problems just to get you started on what we're doing today. So it says, look at the situations below, circle the numbers that are possible answers in each situation. So I'll show you what they mean. In number 1, it says, Jessica spent more than $5 at the arcade. So if Jessica spent more than $5, she could have spent $6, $7, or pretty much any of these amounts. She could not have spent 5 because that's equal to, it's not more than. So that's what we mean if you circled 6 through 15. Now, I want you to try 2. It says less than 6 people rang the bell at the mallet game. So circle the numbers that would be true for that. So you could pause and then restart when you're done. Alright, so less than 6 people would mean any of these numbers down here, 1, 2, 3, or 4, or 5, are all less than 6. Alright, now in 3 it says there were less than 10 people in line for the Ferris wheel. So circle the ones that would be true for that. Alright, so if you circled all the numbers below 10, then you should be good for there. Now we're not going to worry about 4, 5, or 6, but keep in mind what we're doing by circling those numbers, because that's going to be a lot like when we graph inequalities on the next page. Alright, so writing an inequality for each sentence. This can be tricky depending on the words, so we're going to read it and we're going to come up with our inequality. Remember, the symbols we can use are less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. And I'm going to show you a trick that can help you decide some of these. So number 1, it says, example 1, you must be over 12 years old to ride the go-karts. Now, here's what I do for these. Your age, so we're going to use A, is over 12. Now usually what I do these is I write a couple numbers. I write 12 because that's in the problem. I write one less and I write one more. And then just like on the previous page in the real world link, I circle the numbers that make it true. So if you must be over 12, 13 would make it true. Now that means your age has to be greater than 12. Okay? Can't be equal to 12. So that's our inequality. Now in example 2, it says a pony is less than 14.2 hands tall. And by the way, if you're wondering, they measure ponies with really your hands. They show you, they kind of stack your hands going up the side of the pony to see how many hands tall it is. So a pony is less than 14.2 hands tall. So if I were doing my numbers, if I had 14.2, over here I would go 14.1, and over here I'd go 14.3. So, to be a pony, it has to be less than 14.2. So, the height of the pony, we'll use P, must be less than 14.2. Alright, now, 3 is where they start getting a little tricky, so check this one out. It says, you must be at least 16 years old to have a driver's license. So this at least 16 can be tricky, so I'm going to highlight it. Now, this is where writing the numbers comes in handy. So I'm going to write down, and you could write more than one less than 16, so I could do like 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So this is what you want to do. And if it says you must be at least 16 years old to get a driver's license. So, can you get a driver's license when you're 14? No. Can you get a driver's license when you're 15? No. Now, can you get a driver's license when you're 16? Yes, because at least 16 includes 16. How about 17? Yes. How about 18? Yes. So the numbers 16, 17, and 18 all are true for at least 16 years old. So this is how you write the inequality. Your age, so we use A, must be greater than or equal to 16. Because in this situation, your age can be 16. That's the tricky part about at least, and that's when you use greater than or equal to. Alright, to the next page. We're going to go through A, B, C, and D one at a time. Now, for each one, unless you know and it's an easy one, you should write a number less than, a number more than, and the number, kind of like I did in the examples, and circle the ones that make it true. So we'll start with A. It says you must be older than 13 to play in the basketball league. Now, I'm going to write those numbers, so I'm going to write 13, I'll write one less, and I'll write one more. Now, what I want you to do is circle the numbers or number that would be true for that sentence, you must be older than 13. And then write your inequality on the A line. I'm going to use the variable A, by the way. You could use what you want. So pause the video, answer A, and then restart it. Go. Alright, so here's what I'm going to do. You must be older than 13. That means can't be 12. Can't be 13. You must be older than 13. So your age has to be greater than 13. Can't be greater than or equal to because 13 isn't part of that. Now in B, it says to use one stamp, your domestic letter must weigh under 3.5 ounces. So for my numbers, I'm going to do the 3.5, and I'll do 3.6 for higher, and 3.4 for lower. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to circle the number or numbers that makes it true to help me with my inequality. Now, you're going to pause this and do B and restart it. I'm going to use W for my variable for weight. You use whatever you want. Pause it, answer it, and then restart it. Go. Alright, let's see what you came up with. So it says, to use one stamp, your domestic letter must weigh under 3.5. So this is the only one that's under 3.5. So the weight must be less than 3.5 ounces. Alright, now for C, it says you must be over 48 inches tall to ride the roller coaster. So I'm going to use H for height, by the way. Use whatever you want. But I want you to pause it, do C, and then restart it. Go. Alright, so for C, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write 48. I'll go one less and one more. So it says you must be over 48 inches. So that does not include 48. So 49 is over. That means your height must be greater than 48 inches. That is your inequality. And in D, you must be at least 18 years old to vote. This one is a little bit trickier, so I am definitely doing the number list for this one. But I want you to pause it and see if you get it. Go. Alright, let's see how you did. So let's think about this one. It says you must be at least 18 years old to vote. So if you must be at least, 17 doesn't vote. At least 18 does include the 18, and 19-year-olds can vote. So how do you write that inequality? Well, I'm going to use A for age. Your age must be greater than or equal to 18, because it includes the 18. Let me write that a little neater. A is greater than or equal to 18. Be careful with those greater than or equal to ones. Now, that's how you write an inequality. In this next section, we're going to graph them. And I think this part is kind of fun. So, let me go down and show you how it works. To graph an inequality on the number line, here's the first rule of thumb, and you might want to write this over here. Anytime if you have an inequality and it has just greater than or less than, you are going to use an open circle. When it's greater than, equal to, or less than or equal to, you are going to use a closed circle because it shows that it includes with the equal to part. And I'll show you what I mean over here. Alright, let me move. Okay, so in 4, you have to graph n is greater than 9. Now, because n is greater than 9 does not include the 9, you put an open circle on the 9. And then you shade everything greater than the 9 because n has to be greater than the 9. Now, in 5, it says n is less than or equal to 10. So that can include the 10 and everything less than the 10. So you put a closed circle, because it includes the 10, and shade everything less than. Now, some people have trouble knowing whether you shade to the right or to the left of the circle. So I'm going to show you a cool trick I learned from a student. So look at the greater than sign in example 4. See how it looks like that? It also matches this end of the arrow. So that tells you that's the side that you're going to shade. Now, look at example 5. Look at your less than or equal to sign. Notice it goes that direction. Just like the arrow where you shaded it goes that direction. See how the sign is like the arrow end? And then you shade that side of the arrow. So the sign, the greater than or less than sign, looks like the end of the arrow that you are shading. So we're going to do E and F together. We'll start with E. You have to graph A is less than 15. So your first decision is it an open or closed circle on the 15? So think about that for a second. Now, because it's less than 15, it does not include the 15. So the first thing you want to do is draw an open circle on the 15. Don't fill it in. Now, you have to decide what side you're going to shade. So there's two ways to think about it. One is, well, you kind of say the sign. If you say A is less than 15, you now have to shade everything that's less than 15. The other thing is, remember the arrow. This less than sign looks like this arrow. So you're actually going to shade, if I put on my pen, to the left. And that's everything less than 15. Now, F, you're going to do this one more on your own, but here's what you got to think about. First, B is greater than or equal to 7, so you have to decide if it's an open or closed circle, and then you have to decide what direction to shade. So, try F, pause the video, when you're done, restart it. Go. Alright, so first thing you need to think about is since it's greater than or equal to, it includes the 7. So it's a closed circle because it counts the 7. Now as far as the direction, greater than or equal to means you are going to shade everything greater than or equal to the 7, which means that direction. The other thing is, remember this sign right here matches this arrow over here. So it helps you with the direction that you shade. Alright, so that's how you graph inequalities. Now, on to the last page, more real-world example, and we'll show you how you could do this in the real world. So in example 6, it says, traffic on a, let me get my pointer ready, traffic on a residential street can travel at speeds of no more than 25 miles per hour. Alright, I'm going to highlight that because that's important. No more than 25 miles per hour. Write and graph an inequality. So you have to do both to describe the possible speeds on the street. So first off, to write an inequality. This is a tricky one because it says no more than 25 miles per hour. So I'm going to go back to my good old trick where I write the three numbers. So I have 25, 26, and 24. And that's going to help me think of what no more than means. So, no more than 25. So let me think about it. How about 26? Is that more than 25? Yes. So this is kind of how I think of this one. No more than 25 means it cannot be more than 25. That means it can be 25, and it can be anything less than 25. So here's my inequality. The traffic, or the speed, if I use S, can be less than or equal to 25 miles per hour. So that is my inequality. Now when I graph it, notice here, I have a less than sign, so I go to the less than side of the arrow. That looks just like this sign. And since it's less than or equal to, I do a closed circle. So I would graph, that would be my graph that shows S is less than or equal to 25. Alright, you're done with me, so make sure you finish up any other problems that you might have to do. If you are doing the problems below, just keep in mind when you graph this, you actually have to write your numbers. Like if this is 6, you're probably going to have 6 here. Go at least 2 higher and at least 2 lower when you graph that inequality. Alright, you are done with me. Later.